Welcome to this presentation on the Introduction to the Golf Scorecard. This presentation is part of our Fundamentals of Golf series for beginners. My name is Les Ross. I'm Director of Golf at Highlander School of Golf, and you can find us online at highlanderschoolofgolf.com. If you've never played a golf course before, or you've never seen a scorecard before, there's a lot of vital information on the scorecard that will help you navigate around each hole during your round. And obviously, if you're playing in a competition, the scorecard is there to record your actual scores. So what we're going to do in this presentation is I'm going to explain the information that you will find on the scorecard. So if you've never seen one before, it'll just give you a better understanding of what's there. So our agenda for the presentation is just going to be the introduction to the golf scorecard, and then each slide then is going to go over the details that you'll find on the scorecard. Purpose of the scorecard is primarily to track your performance. So if you're just generally playing around, uh, the card is there just to help you track your gross scores on each hole. And you can use these to apply for a handicap, and we'll go over that in a later slide. But also, if you're playing in a competition, the scorecard then acts as the official record of your play during the competition, ensuring that the scores are accurate and they're fair. Before we get into the details of the scorecard itself, there are some key terms and definitions that you will need to know or be aware of. First one is what's called par. Now, par is the expected number of strokes to complete a hole on the course, serving as the scoring benchmark. A handicap, a handicap measures a player's skill level. So the handicap allows fair competitions by adjusting scores accordingly between players who are skilled and players who are not as skilled. Gross score is actually the score or the count of the number of strokes that you played on a particular hole. Net score is the gross score that you've recorded, adjusted by the player's handicap. And we'll give you examples of how we do that later on. The terminology that you should be aware of are the following. The first is a birdie. A birdie means that you have achieved a score that is one stroke under par. And that's actually a good thing. It shows a high degree of skill. A bogey, on the other hand, is terminology for a gross score that's one stroke over par. An eagle is exceptional because an eagle means completing the hole in two strokes under par, indicating, as I just mentioned, excellent play. Every hole on the golf course is going to be a different length, and that length is defined by the yardage of each hole. And the yardage of the hole also influences, the shot selections that you're going to make from tee to green. Now, par versus yardage and length, there are three types of par holes. Longer hole distances mean that more shots are expected to complete the hole, and hence the higher their par rating. So you typically have three par ratings. A par 3 is given to short distance holes. A par 4 is given to medium distance holes. and a par 5 is given to long distance holes. As I mentioned earlier, there's a handicap system in golf, and every golfer can apply for a handicap. And essentially, your handicap is calculated by submitting the gross scores recorded on your scorecards into your local Golfers Association database. And the handicap is typically given. The handicap that is given is typically reflects the average scores you achieve over over the par level of the courses you play. So a skilled player will typically have a handicap of 0 to 9. A medium skilled player will have handicaps of 10 to 18. And then the lower skilled players will typically have handicaps of 19 to 36. And essentially, the handicap system allows players of different skill abilities to play with each other fairly in competition. As we mentioned in an earlier slide, we talked about gross and net score. So the definition of the gross score is essentially just the number of strokes you've actually taken to complete the hole from tee to putting out on the green. The net score, on the other hand, is calculated by taking the gross score and subtracting the golfer's handicap strokes from the gross score to give a net. And really the purpose of the net score is really to allow skilled players to play with non-skilled players. Because obviously the non-skilled players will have a higher handicap. They will also be taking more strokes on each hole, but their higher handicap, when subtracted from their gross scores, allows them then to compete against good players who have got lower handicaps and are also taking less strokes on each hole. So on this slide, we show a typical scorecard, and we'll get into some of the details. As you can see, there are hole numbers, and against each hole number, there's a par value. As I described earlier, the longer holes are going to be par 5s, the shorter holes will be par 3s, and the in-between holes will be par 4s. Against each one of those holes, you've got a yardage listed, and then you have blanks on the scorecard that allow you to actually put in your gross and your adjusted handicap score. Now, typically the golf card is broken into the front 9 holes, that's holes from 1 to 9, and then the back 9 from 10 through 18. So other details that you'll see in the scorecard is for each hole, there are different yardages given. And those yardages reflect the different tee boxes that might be available on each hole. And, as we're seeing on this scorecard, you have white tee boxes and you have yellow tee boxes. And then on the right-hand side, you have red tee boxes. And the red tee boxes are typically for women players, and the white and yellow are for the men. So depending on which tee box you choose to select to play on for your round, if you select the white tees, then you go off the yardages listed for the white. And then obviously, if you go off the yellow, you would take the yardages that are listed there for the yellow. Now, tee boxes for competition play, you might find some other colors there. And typically what you see for competition play are either blue or black markers. Other information that you'll find on the scorecard are the hole difficulty ratings. So the most difficult hole that's on the course will be given a rating of 1. The least difficult rated hole is given an 18. And then the others are balanced obviously between 1 and 18. Now, the reason for this is that it allows you to then allocate strokes per hole depending on your handicap to give you a fair net score. So for instance, let's say an 18 handicap player is playing on this course. They will get a stroke every single hole. So it'll be from the most difficult to the least difficult. An 18 handicap player will get 18 strokes. So that's one stroke per hole. Now, if that player is playing against a 9 handicap player, the 9 handicap player will only get strokes on the holes that are rated from 1 through 9. On the holes from 10, the ratings from 10 through 18, that 9 handicap player won't get any strokes. So what this means is an 18 handicap player can play competitively against a 9 handicap player who's obviously a better player, and they can compete fairly through their net scores. We encourage every golfer to take out a scorecard when they're playing a round, regardless of whether that round is just for the enjoyment of the round or in competition play, and record your scores. Because when you go back at the end of the round and you analyze those scores, you will identify areas of weakness that then you can then focus on in your practice rounds to try and improve in those areas. This completes the presentation on the introduction to the golf scorecard. I hope you've gained some information from this that will be useful. This is part of our Golf Fundamentals series. We have 8 fundamentals on the golf swing itself, and then we have other lessons that include this one as part of preparing yourself for the first ventures out onto the golf course. If you haven't come across these fundamentals, by all means go to highntheSchoolofGolf.com/lessons, and you'll get access to the complete series, which is absolutely free for all beginners. If you feel this presentation was useful, by all means share it with your friends if you feel that they'll get some benefit from you. We hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you for being with me, and we look forward to working with you on some of our other golf fundamental lessons. Thank you.